It's Miss Acton here. All right, so we're going to be doing reading with Miss Acton this week. So, what we're going to be doing today together is we will be identifying repeated lines in a poem. And actually, I'm going to change that because we are not going to be doing repeated lines in a poem. We're going to be doing repeated lines in a story. We're reading a story today, and then find more meaning in the story because of those repeated lines. And then on your own, on your Google form for today, you're going to say that I will identify repeated lines in a poem and find more meaning in the poem. So you're going to be reading a poem today, which is a lot more fun than just a story, but I promise you this story is worth it. So what we're going to be looking for in this story today is we're going to be looking for the repeated line that we find, which means it's a line repeated over and over. So it's something that you see several times in the story on every page. It's just something that happens over and over. And a lot of times it gives a story some extra meaning to it. So we're going to be finding repeated lines. We're also going to be finding things that surprise you in this story. And we're also going to be finding some things that are funny in this story because the story is a really funny one. This is a really easy read, and we're only going to read to page 5 of this story today. I'm going to keep you hanging at the end of this, so you have to come back tomorrow to figure out what happens. So this story is called Bark George. So in this story, there's a mama dog, George's mother, and she's trying to get George to bark. And George tries to bark as hard as he can, but some funny things start to happen. So see if you pick up on it. So on each one of our pages, I do have 3 post-it notes to remind us that we're looking for repeated lines, we're looking for surprises in the words and in the story, and we're looking for things that are funny in the story. So far we have a picture of George's mom, and it says George's mother said, and then it's going to tell us what it said on the next page. So far, nothing really funny is going on in the story, nothing surprising. It's a puppy dog, and there's hasn't been any repeated lines because we've only had one line so far. George's mother said. So keep that in mind because we're going to see if we see the words George's mother said again, because then we'll have a repeated line. So let's go to the next page. So bark, George. George went meow. So I'm going to stop. Is there any repeated lines yet? No. This is the first time that George's mom has said bark George, and this is the first time that George has went meow. He hasn't went meow in this story yet. This is his first try at trying to bark. And he didn't do such a good job, did he? No. So there's no repeated lines still. Are there any surprises in the story right now? Yeah. What is it? Yeah, he said meow. That's definitely a surprise, right? Yeah, a dog can't just say meow. They're supposed to say a certain word. And then is there anything funny in this page and what's happening? Yeah, absolutely. The fact that a dog says meow is really funny because dogs don't meow, dogs go bark. All right, so we definitely haven't seen any signs of repeated lines yet. Let's see if we see some repeated words that we've seen so far on the next page. And we're still looking for surprises and some funny things going on in the story. Let's go to the next page. No, George, said George's mother. Cats go meow, dogs go arf. Now bark, George. George went quack, quack. So I'm going to go back to the last page, and I want you to pay attention to now bark, George. Oh, what did the mom say in this page? She said, bark, George. And then what did she say on this page? Bark, George. So we have repeated lines. We're going to check that off. So let's look at the rest of this. Were there any surprises that you saw? Anything that, stood out to you that you're like, whoa, what happened? Yeah, he said quack, quack. Yeah, we were not expecting that. Now, we knew he was probably going to say a different animal, but I'm sure the duck was probably a surprise. Or maybe you thought that he was going to bark. He was learning and he was going to bark this time, and that was really a surprise. Is there anything funny that you saw? Yeah, I think the quack, quack part, yeah, that part was funny. Also, I think, no, George, said George's mom, cats go meow, dogs go arf. Now bark, George. I think being a mom, I guess, and maybe you might feel that same way too. I could hear her saying, no, George, George's mother. Cats go meow, dogs go arf. Now bark, George. And kind of seeing a mom get upset with her kiddo is sometimes kind of funny because you can tell she really loves him and she really cares about him, and she's not being really mean just yet, and it's really cute, and that does make it funny. It makes it cute for you. All right, let's go to the next page. So looking for those repeated lines, surprises, and anything that's funny. No, George, said George's mother. Ducks go quack, quack. Dogs go off. Now bark, George. George went oink. All right, so repeated lines. I hope you notice that this entire part right here looks just like this entire part. No, George, said George's mother. Cats go meow. Now she says cats go meow on this part. And she said ducks go quack quack on this part. But then she says, now bark, George. Dogs go arf. She says all of those things. So far we have repeated lines still. Almost like an entire section of repeated lines. Do we see any surprises? Yeah, you might be surprised that he's still making animal noises like the sound oink, which is a sound a pig makes. So yeah, that's a surprise. I'd be surprised to see that mom is getting really frustrated already. You'd think that maybe mom should be a little bit more patient, or maybe you're like, I can't believe she's taking this long to go kind of crazy. But I can definitely, I can see that in her face. She's doing like, come on, kid. And that surprises some people. So yeah, those are some surprises. Is there anything funny that you see? Yeah, dog, this is oink. That's funny. Yeah. And then, the same thing that we talked about in the last slide, the fact that the mom decided, to no, George. You can see that face. She's going, no, George. Ah, she said, ducks go quack, quack. Dogs go arf. Now bark, George. And she's got that face, and that makes it funny too. So I think the way she's reacting and the fact that George says oink are both things that are really funny. So even though this was a tiny little part of the story, we're stopping here today. I wanted you to notice that when you dig deeper into these words, you find some patterns like repeated lines. And those repeated lines can help you add meaning to your story, which with the repeated lines, you can definitely tell that the mom keeps going at it. She's practicing with George, or she clearly wants George to bark like a dog. And I think by her face that you see right here, she's getting kind of worried maybe. And those repeated lines that she's doing definitely shows you that. So it adds a little bit more meaning to it. And then the surprises that you see. You think the person that wrote this story put those surprises in there to keep you excited and excited about the next page. And I hope that you're excited to find out what happens at the rest of the story tomorrow. And same thing with the funny. The person that wrote this story, I hope that they put these silly things where George is saying all these different animal sounds instead of barking to keep the reader engaged, to keep you guys wanting to read more, and to keep you laughing, because books that are funny are some of the best books that you can read. So what you're going to be doing today in your classwork for today is there is a poem that you're going to be reading today, and it has some surprises in it. It is funny, and there's repeated lines in it. So the first thing I ask you is kind of what we went through last year, and I want you to tell me if your story rhymes, and then I want you to tell me if it does rhyme, what are the words that rhyme in it? Are there any words that are repeated? And you should be able to find this one really easy because it's all on one page. And then tell me what are those repeated lines in the story? What are those words that you keep saying over and over? Then what part of the story surprised you? So you should be able to pick out a part that surprised you, that caught you off guard. And then also what part of the story do you think is funny? So what part of the story is funny? And there's one really big part of the story that I promise you will crack that up. All right. And don't forget that whenever you do this form, it's not there now. There will be a link up here at the top that you can click on, and Miss Acton will read this story to you in case you can't read it on your own, or if you just want to hear Miss Acton read it. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I had fun showing you about repeated lines and surprises and funny things that you find in stories. Feel like finding the surprises, the funny stuff, and the repeated lines in this poem today. Bye, guys.